Hello, my name is Seneca. Welcome to my casual YouTube channel. This is where I talk anything casual or monumental in relation to life's events, and life's TV shows, like the TV show we're going to be talking about today, Love is Blind UK episodes 5 through 9. These strings of episodes are very interesting, except for they were like a little bit boring, but still interesting nonetheless in the way that they gave us topics to talk about, hitting on differences in love languages, communication styles, authenticity, aka Sam, what are we doing? And yeah, there's just so many things to talk about. My channel is incredibly casual, so I will just be pulling from the notes that I have so that we can dissect and discuss what stood out. And that's another thing is I just wrote down what stood out to me. There are some things I probably will miss. If so, drop them in the comments, please. Another thing that I do want to talk about in the comments is because something that stood out to me this episode. The most prevalent thing to me is noticing Catherine's behavior. Is Catherine self-sabotaging, or are she and Freddie just like gonna be toxic? You know? Because I just don't feel like they should. But I mean, we'll get into it. And then also another question that was most prevalent to me that got brought up with Tom and Maria is that, do gender norms still play a role, traditional gender norms still play a role in dating in 2024? Like, do we care? Ladies, do we care about that anymore? Personally, as somebody who started dating my husband in like mid 2018, I felt like taken care of when he used to pay for things, but I wasn't like, he needs to pay for everything. I always want him to pay. I don't feel comfortable with that. I just feel like, okay, so I'm just useless, I guess, since I can't contribute to anything this relationship is about. But I understand there are also very cultural traditions that play into that as well. And that's just a question for anyone. No, that's a question for the ladies. The ladies, drop that in the comments. Okay, so starting off on episode 5. I can't believe we're going this far back. Anyway, Benaya, I do know how to say his name now. Benaya and Nicole meet up. It's crazy I'm going back this far. Still, I don't think they should be married. A lot of these people, I'm like, y'all are cool to date. Like, I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a couple no's at the altar just because they're like, I don't think they're ready, because I don't think these people are ready. There are like there's 2 couples who I think might make it, but ultimately the only people I think that actually should make it are Steven and Sabrina. Like, those people to me seem like fine. Tom and Marie, I don't know. Let me know. Okay. Well, I think I said last time, just get into it, Ruth. Seriously. Sorry. I just want to preface, I said last time that these go episode by episode, my commentary, but I didn't mark out the episodes this time. So I was just going to straight up go from what I was thinking from the beginning to the end. And I'm going to try not to spoil it, but I might, just a little. But I'm going to try not to. We all watch the same thing, though. Spoilers be damned, for real. Okay. Nicole and Benaya meet up. I don't think they should be married. I think these people should date, especially because Nicole has mentioned that he is a nomad, and whenever he talks about the future, he kind of is a little bit more distant toward it. How are we feeling about that one? You know? But it is adorable that he proposes and that he's so... I believe Ben when I see him. You know what I mean? I believe him when he says that he's into Nicole. I believe him when anything kind of happens, and like, no matter what he says, I don't feel like, ew, like, it's kind of weird that he just did that, because he proposed right away. Didn't Zach wait a little bit to like figure out if Bliss was even into him? Like, Benaya just straight up got confirmation, like, oh no, she's into this, let me just propose right now, even though it just like didn't work out, and she just like completely just like disregarded what I said about Sam and like didn't believe me. But whatever, it's fine, we'll get married anyway. So yeah, that interesting. So then we go back to where they are in Greece, right? We get a reminder that Ollie broke it off well, we get a reminder that Ollie said he broke it off with Catherine. I can't remember which one was right, but I imagine the way that it plays out that Catherine was right, just based off the fact that it seems like it. And Catherine wants to confront Ollie, and Freddie says, "Why does it matter?" I'm never gonna attempt the accent ever again because nobody's gonna come back to this channel. I'm sorry. He says, "Why does it matter?" Which feels like, in that moment, it felt like a matter of authenticity versus peacekeeping. And but then I also was kind of like, it could just be like an excuse to talk though. Like, Catherine could have simply just been like, "No, I want to talk to him about this," but then straight up just wanted to like talk to him and like couldn't think of like a better, I don't know. Because they don't really have that crazy of a conversation. So I realized as I was watching this, Ollie is like not that attractive to me. He's like, there's something about him that's like a little bit like, no, I was gonna be so mean and I'm not in the position to be like, no, I literally brought it up, I have to say it. There's like something about him in the face that when he goes like this, and I suffer from whatever this is too. When he has this like, when he's like, his brows are furrowed where it looks kind of Neanderthal-y. I'm sorry, that was actually not nice. But he just like, you know, I apologize immediately. Anyway, so Ollie, it's weird because he's like bringing up the typical, "I'm not rushing into anything, I want to take it slow," with Demi. It's like, you literally said that you were about looks when you want to date somebody and you are known for being superficial. People like that, when they come on this show and say they want to take things slow, are just not that attracted to their partner. They're just not. And I feel like they're trying to be nice about it. Which is like, is it better to just be nice about it and kind of be like a little bit like fluffy, or is it right? Like, what do we want to hear from these people? Anyway, so we see that everyone meets up, but of course, there's always that one couple that all the eyes are on, and the eyes are on Ollie and Catherine, of course. Catherine pulls Ollie. We're like, oh, shoot, this is happening. Ollie, okay, so Catherine's like, "So I heard what you were saying about me, and I just, like, wanted to check in." I feel like Ollie kind of manipulated the truth a little bit because he did, like, I feel like we did see him being like, "I broke it off with her," right? Or was it just a description that somebody gave? But then he says, like, "I don't remember saying that. I don't think I said that, but if I did, then I was going to say that, even if I did eat it." Which is kind of like, okay, that's kind of weird the way that was said, but at the same time, I guess like some admittance was going on. It just felt a little weird. I don't know. But it's fine. So then Demi goes to check in with Ollie because she's so nervous about this, because she's like, "I don't know, Catherine seems like she'd be like his type," which, by the way, Catherine kind of be looking like everybody's type. I don't know how to explain that. Even if you're like not attracted, Catherine just seems to me very palatable, right? Ollie and Catherine look like they might even like go together, you know? So I could understand Demi's hesitation. So Demi goes in to check with Ollie, and it was weird because he wasn't opening up to her. He was being a little bit distant. He wasn't really saying anything. I think he said something that was like, "I don't want to," something along the lines of like, "I don't want to talk about that." And then what's his name? That friend of his, Bobby, comes around, and then Ollie kind of just blows off Demi's like, "Hey, Bobby." I'm gonna go talk to Bobby really quick for a minute. Don't mind that I just like interrupted our conversation and you trying to connect with me over this thing that just happened that you were kind of insecure about. I'm gonna go talk to Bobby. It's like, girl, what are we doing? That's a little bit, that felt like that's a little rude. So then Ollie opens up to Bobby and is like, you know, I was still kind of feeling a little bit, I was still feeling a little bit something with Catherine, which is kind of like, you know that a relationship is headed down when you're opening up to anyone but the person that you're with. And then I think that Ollie asks if they've, you know, been intimate. And then, no, he says, like, so you think it's gonna happen tonight? And he's like, well, it's already happened. Bobby says it's already happened to Jasmine. And I was like, I don't think that there's a time that's too soon or too late. Which is like, you're lying. You're literally lying. I don't think there's a time that's too late. Anybody that says I don't think there's a time too soon has a definition for when it's too late. Tony, like, the fact that we're even trying to make this seem like it's please. Benaya and Nicole joined the party, and it's kind of crazy how well liked they are amongst the group, because I feel like everybody was coming up to them, and Benaya had his, like, arms over everybody. I just feel like group settings, group dynamics, people do not like a group of or a pair of people that much for them all to be invested. I feel like the girlhood and brotherhood in this season is just so strong. It's just so beautiful. The girlhood and the brotherhood. The girl and brotherhood. Sometimes I hate being on this channel. Okay, anyway. But it also could just be that they're, like, drunk. You know what I mean? Like, I get really friendly with, I feel like, a lot of people whenever I'm, like, just drinking things. So the beach party had little to no drama. Like, a lot of the drama was really just that tension between Ollie and Catherine, and then Ollie and Demi, because there's a lot of unspoken things that are just not being said, you know? So yeah, a little bit lackluster, but still, I was excited for it. And we see that Freddie and Catherine catch up. I wrote this at the time. I know this now. But I asked, what's Freddie's flaw? What the heck is up with Freddie? Because like, you cannot find a man that fine with, like, nothing that's just, like, overtly wrong. You know, I just feel like there is always some sort of abuse of power with somebody that attractive. I just kind of feel like you just expect something, and something typically pops up with those type of people. It just doesn't really make sense. Am I right? Okay. Also, I like Benaya and Nicole. There's something about them that just feels, I like them, but I don't want to see them married. You know? Like, you guys could really just date. You really can. So then we have Bobby and Jasmine having a good conversation that isn't just gossip. That's Jasmine bringing up her type of concerns. Bringing up her concerns for the type of communication value she has with Bobby, being like, I don't like the way that Ollie pulled you aside to talk about Demi when he should have been talking about that with Demi. Like, that was weird. Because I feel like I like the people who speak on what the audience is saying, or speak on what the audience is thinking, is what I mean. I'm so sorry if you can hear knocking. It's just my cat messing around with her litter box. I wish I brought my microphone, but I simply didn't. So if you do hear that, I really do apologize. So, yeah, Bobby and Jasmine, I feel like, have good conversations as couples where they're very open emotionally, but some, we'll get into, like, a later moment where I kind of feel like that kind of doesn't keep happening, like, it kind of stops. Okay, so then we see Ollie and Demi having tension, of course, because it's very clear that Demi is insecure because she's picking on vibes that Ollie is, like, he's, like, kind of intentionally throwing out at this point, right? That he's just not attracted to her, despite the fact that he's kind of, like, saying it and saying the connection is there, I just need to take things slow. It's like, I really don't know if I don't think I believe you, and I don't think a lot of people do. And I think the fact that they're in this little experiment and it's so quick is making Ollie feel, like, bad about just being honest about just not being that attracted. But I don't know, maybe he'll grow in attraction. I just kind of feel like he's not being that authentic with us. You know what I mean? He's not being authentic with us. All these couples look like they are matched well together. And I feel like it's kind of crazy that they did this whole experiment sight unseen, but they all came out looking like each other's type. Like, Sabrina and Steven look like they should match up on, like, a dating site because they look like siblings. And that's, I feel like, typically rule of thumb. like if a couple looks like siblings, they probably get along. Me and my husband included. Me and my husband. My husband and I couldn't be the more different people. So, but yeah, it's just kind of crazy. You know what I mean? Is it like the fact that Catherine and Freddie look like siblings? Demi and Ollie even, you know? It's like interesting how that plays out. Okay, so Catherine has the whole, do you have any crazy exes conversation? And you know what? I really didn't falter in that moment because I was like, a man like Freddie, it wouldn't be shocking. It wouldn't be shocking. I feel like anybody who comes across a guy like Freddie, you're like, what is up with you? Like, let me know what's up with you. But the way that she delivered it would felt very like incessant and very like, so do you have any exes? Like, no, but I'm being for real. Like, do you have any exes that are crazy? Like anything. Put a little bit of pressure. And then she's like, have you cheated? And then he's like, yeah, I did. I did the one time 7 years ago. And it's scary, but it makes sense, okay? It makes sense. Like I said, a man that attractive is going to somehow misuse their power of attraction and attractiveness at some point in their life. Like, they're going to misuse that power, and he did. But I also want to know the situation. Like I said in the last recap, I want to know the nitty gritty about what goes on in these relationships. Like, why did Nicole's marriage end? Why did Freddie cheat? What the heck happened? Does he feel remorse about it? What the heck was the situation with the girl? Can we get a girl on TikTok to please speak up about Freddie? Like, what the heck? What the heck? I always wonder, like, what the heck are these exes just doing watching these people on the show? Because you know that they can't resist. If me and my husband divorced tomorrow and he goes on Love and Blind, I'm watching that whole entire season and from my TikTok and being like, yeah, okay. Like, commenting on the whole thing. So I just want to know. Okay. The sexiest hosts alive walk down and we're like, okay, thanks for coming, but your job is like not real. We love to see you because you're eye candy, seriously. But this, like, what are we doing here? If anything, Love is Blind needs to take a hint from Married at First Sight, and they have the same creator, so this maybe could be a thing. To just have, like, therapists and, like, marriage counselors or couple counselors so they can kind of talk through things and give us the tea versus a host. A host just kind of feels a little bit useless. Does it not? I don't know. It's crazy that they're getting married in a few weeks. Like, every time they bring up the marriage, I'm like, marriage? What are we talking about? You guys literally just met each other and are having issues. Like, I also, as somebody who planned a wedding and, like, was not that into the tradition of a marriage and just wanted to elope, like, these are not people that should be getting married and wedding planning. And I know that the wedding planning is probably, like, mostly up to Netflix, right? In production and stuff. I just kind of feel like, dang, like, that could not be a worse way to start off this relationship. So stressful, so annoying, so how do you guys, like, work out, like, guest lists about who you want to come? Is it like a set amount? There's probably like a set tiny amount of people that you, like, are inviting. I can't imagine figuring that out with somebody who, like, you have only talked to for less than a month, you know? Eek. Okay, so everyone is noticing that Demi's not herself. Like, everyone is noticing. And then when Jasmine asks Ollie and is like, so do you feel anything? He's like, I don't know, you're just putting pressure on me. And she's like, well, I want to know, do you feel anything? She's like, kind of coming on a little strong because she's protective of her. But it just is like, she's being like, so do you feel anything? And he's like, I don't know, I'm feeling pressured by the situation. I just can't take this. And then he's like, you know, whatever. I don't want to do this anymore. It's hot-headed and just, you know, triggered a little bit too easily. Yeah, to me, what's not being said is just that Ollie probably wanted to end up with Catherine. Like, let's just, let's just for real. So, then we get back to the real world. Biggest takeaway that I noticed from the first real world episodes is just that Ollie is still uncomfortable, and I'm guessing it only gets worse is what I wrote at this point. Maria is judged by Tom because she's a makeup artist, and to be honest, I feel bad about this. I feel like I am betraying Maria in this moment because like she kind of did ask. She was like, "Did you like kind of not take me that seriously when you found out I was a makeup artist?" Like she didn't even like say it really like that. She kind of just said, "So you thought you had like a little opinion of me? Like you didn't really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." Like um and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like at least it was an honest conversation. Like, I don't know if that's bad of me because you simply because like what's known to probably what should probably happen is just that he shouldn't like say that about her profession, or is it just kind of like, well, at least he was honest. And then also I feel like we do you not also have like a little bit of a preconceived notion or a little bit of something about when you hear that somebody's like an MUA? Personally, when I like hear about an MUA or think about somebody being a makeup artist, unless they're like at a certain level, I don't know. I kind of feel like the MUA to like Instagram person influencer pipeline is like there. So I feel like some people just be like MUAs for a phase and then go to something else creative. I don't know. I don't look down on MUAs at all. I don't have a low opinion of them, but for me I was kind of thinking like I kind of like could see Tom being like, "Ah, it's interesting that you're an MUA." You know, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm a PLS for that. I don't know. But I kind of felt like at least Tom was being honest, but I also do understand from Maria's standpoint, she probably felt a little bit like, I feel a little bit disrespected. I do. I feel like a little bit like, that's judgmental of you. And also I feel like she's saying he's judgmental a lot more than what we're seeing. So it's a little bit hard for me to also kind of feel a little bit sadder for her because I don't really see that a lot from Tom. I don't think we have. So, that's my toxic take, is just the fact that I'm like, I also kind of feel like I look at MUAs and I'm like, I don't know. What? I don't know. Okay, so Catherine is holding on to the cheating thing. And when they go out shopping, she's starting to get annoyed with him. And you know what? It's normal to get annoyed with the person that you're dating. It's normal to get annoyed with somebody that you love. But I kind of feel like she's starting to see these things that she doesn't like, and I feel like she might be starting to self-sabotage just because she's like, oh, it's the cheating, he cheated, when I know it's annoying that I know it's not desirable for her to be in that position with somebody who like has admitted they cheated, but like if they came out with it so quickly and they are not really emphasizing it too much, it kind of feels like a little bit like, why are you emphasizing it so much? I understand it's difficult, but it's like, I feel like you're kind of looking now to like ruin the relationship. For what reason? He's just like somebody that I'd be like, oh, that makes sense for you. You look like that. That's mean. I mean, that's not mean. That's just a little too real for me to say. So my little cat is joining us. Bobby and Jasmine have a dinner, and she's like, so I was looking through YouTube and I saw your YouTube channel, and like, as somebody with like a tiny little YouTube channel that's like, that I would like hate for strangers to be like, I saw your YouTube channel, I'd be like, okay. I don't know, it just immediately feels confrontational. And then she shows him his music video in the part where he's like doing something with a girl, and I don't know, it just felt like weird because it felt like he was in trouble, but he's also not. She just is kind of like bringing up her insecurities, and honestly, as much as there was like immediate tension, at least she did bring it up in a way that was kind of like, I'm insecure about this. I'm just gonna be honest, I'm insecure about this. And then he responded letting her know that he would reassure her. So as much as I feel like that conversation could have gone so so south. I feel like if Jasmine was with the wrong person, they could have been like, "What are you talking about, bro? Like, you know that I do this. You know I do this. Like, this was from a couple years ago. Like, you know." But the fact that he was just kind of like, "Yeah, I mean, that wasn't like yesterday. I just wanted to let you know you don't have to be insecure about this. I'm gonna reassure you that, Bobby, you're our king, Bobby. You know what? I actually really haven't thought about that. Bobby really is probably MVP of this season, right? Or is he not? Because he kind of has a little tie with Ollie. And he's like, I saw Catherine looking at you. That's kind of weird, right? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. But I do like the way that he just kind of like handled it with just being calm and being kind of emotionally mature in that moment. Because he could have been very easily like, what we doing? You know? So Ollie makes vegan nachos because he's a vegan. What? Would not have guessed. And immediately, okay, so sorry, he makes vegan nachos for what's her name? Demi's friends. And so then of course the friends are asking questions like, so what's going on? How are you guys going? Whatever. And then immediately they're like, you know, we're not putting pressure on each other. We're not putting pressure on each other. Which to me is kind of code for like, there's like a connection where we don't really want to like force it, but we're gonna have to force it if we're trying to get anything going for it. That's just how I read it. I don't know. And then there was a question about like, did anybody like anyone's man? And it's like, you're talking to the people that are having this issue. So it's like, oh, yeah, somebody was talking to my man, and it seems like he's more attracted to her than he is to me, but whatever. Thanks for bringing that up over vegan nachos. Yeah. Tacos. Or was it tacos? Whatever. The whole dinner to me kind of felt a little bit like, I'm saying what I need to say, I'm doing what I need to do, I'm going through the motions, you know? Let me know if you disagree. Catherine sees Freddie's house and kind of just softens to him because she's like, oh, but I mean, she was kind of nitpicking a little. She's like, why do you have such a feminine looking mirror? And I'm pretty progressive, but I kind of felt like that is a feminine looking mirror. Why do you have a mirror with rhinestones? But whatever, it's just creative expression. It's just what he likes to do. But she does kind of soften to him because she's like, you know what, he is kind of responsible. He's not just some bruh that like has an ugly house. So that's cool. And then we see that Maria prefaces Tom about the family meeting, and they have a like kind of genuine conversation about her family, about her values. That is one thing that I do kind of like about Maria. As much as I kind of don't agree with some of the things she brings up later, I do like that they have honest, mature conversations, you know? Tom, I figured out who he looks like. I mentioned in the last recap that he looks like somebody from Married at First Sight Australia. If you watch the last season of that, he looks like Jono. He looks so much like Jono. It's kind of uncanny. And that's the only person I'll ever mention looking like another reality TV star, because it's like, to me, that was just very apparent. Like 98% of you guys are like, who is that? Okay, Demi and Ollie talk. They talk about Ollie's ADHD. And as somebody who's with somebody with ADHD, I'm so excited they're speaking on it. And I understand a lot of people are probably like, what do you mean? Like, everybody has ADHD. ADHD isn't even like a thing that we should even be talking about. It's not that big of a deal. As somebody who doesn't have ADHD and who's with somebody with ADHD in a relationship setting, especially when you live with somebody and that person is like open and honest about how it affects them, I found that to be such a great conversation. Because I found Ollie to be the most real. What are we doing? I'm sorry. I don't know. My cat is. I found Ollie to be the most real in that moment. I found things that he was saying, at least things that Demi was picking up on, to be relatable, because I've seen that in my husband. Also, I read this book called The ADHD Effect on Marriage, which I read before I got married, and it was a phenomenal book about how ADHD affects you when you're dating to being married, because when you have to like do regular everyday functions, it's hard for somebody who is so focused on like, you know, stimulating themselves through like chasing dopamine. That's like essentially what ADHD is. It's just like being, you know, like stimulated by things. So it makes it hard to like do the regular tasks that you're not stimulated by. I just found the conversation to be good, okay? And just to be honest and real. So then we meet Freddie's lovely family, which that was such a beautiful family meeting. Catherine seems to fit in. Other than making a comment about how like he takes things a little bit, he's like a little too goofy. I just really liked that family meeting. I just found them to be such a typical like loving family, for them to be very to be aware of like how attractive Freddie is, for the mom to be like, Freddie's just such a beautiful boy. Like, he has so many of the girls coming to come see him. It's just typical mom behavior. And then we have his brother and how he asked his brother to be the best man. I cried a little. I did. Did we all not cry a little? I feel like that's a good sociopath test, to be like, let me see, how do you feel about this scene? Because I feel like if you didn't cry, what is up with you? But anyway, we meet Maria's. There's gonna be like a slew of family meetings that I'm gonna bring up, but some of them I feel like are not worth mentioning, so I'm not. We meet Freddie's lovely little family, and then we meet Maria's family. And I actually really liked the Maria family meeting, because I just found them to be very emotionally intelligent, to be very open and honest, to be very welcoming of him, to talk also about the differences in religion. I don't know much about what it is to be Muslim, but I like the conversations that are happening. I like that they have kind of the emphasis on the fact that it's rooted in love, because I feel like there's so many misconceptions. As much as I don't know absolutely anything, I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions and derogatory things out there about being Muslim. So having a family talking about it, to me, just felt like educational in a way, and felt very warming to look at. I don't know. So then we see Sabrina and Steven. They meet Steven's friends, who all look like his brothers for some reason. And they seem mature, and they act natural together. It's like interesting how like well they mold. You know, I'm like waiting for something to happen with them. We're all waiting for something to happen with them. Benaya and Nicole meet her parents. Her dad is so fine and young looking. I'm 25. My dad's like 57 or 8. And her dad looks old. Her dad looks younger than my dad, and she's for sure older than me. Well, I mean, like, it isn't like he doesn't have to be older than my dad, but like I'm guessing but like, how old is her dad? I want to know that. How old is her dad, and how does her dad like look like that? I mean, genetics are so kind to some people, but that was kind of jarring to see, was it not? It was kind of crazy. I don't really have anything to really say about that family. It went well. Good energy, good vibes, all things all around. Okay, so then we have the couples are out and about. Freddie and Catherine are at the Buckingham Palace. Sam says, big up the king, which reminds me of my tie to the UK, Great Britain to be specific. I was born and adopted in Uganda. And for some reason, him saying big up the king, like, reminded me that Uganda was colonized by England. And that I spent some parts of my childhood going to this park called Queen Victoria Park. And while that might have been established post-colonization, I'm not even sure. It just made me kind of feel like, why have I not processed that till now? So that's my tie to this season, is the fact that I heard big up the king. And I'm like, oh, my tie to Queen Elizabeth, big up the queen, right? Even though our ties are very different. One is kind of shameful, one is not. Anyway, so then back to this. They get together with what the Americans call the pod squad. Basically everybody that was in the pod together. And we're like, oh, this is where Sam comes in. Yuck. Tom brings up that Maria mentioned that she would like, this is an interesting conversation that I do want to talk about. Tom brings up that Maria mentions that she would like a man to pay for everything. And then I think I said this earlier. I understand that, like, as a woman, you want to be taken care of. You want to feel cared for. I find that, like, everybody in the relationship in some way wants to express care and wants to be cared for in a specific way. And that looks different for every relationship. I completely get that. I find that, like, the way that works in my relationship versus my neighbor's relationship versus this relationship, there's nothing, like, wrong with vocalizing that as long as you do vocalize it. I think that's great. I don't know, I would just feel like too reliant and too uncomfortable. And also just made me think, like, are we in 2024 needing that or what? But I also understand it's also a cultural thing for some people. But I just kind of like, how are we feeling about that? And I think I asked that right at the beginning of this. So we see that Catherine feels the differences in love languages, which is such an adjustment. Oh my God. I kind of feel her in that way, because I feel like my husband sometimes can be very, like, physical touchy, and I'm sometimes just more like a words of affirmation person. I'm like, I know, I love being, like, touched and whatever, but, like, tell me tell me something. I want to feel, like, valued and validated through words and not just a touch, you know? But yeah, I like that she kind of spoke on that. But then she does kind of act out with it, I feel. So we have Tosh and Charlotte coming in, and everyone is thirsting after them. Everyone is absolutely thirsting. Sam comes in, and Nicole is, like, uncomfortable. And Ben is, like, angry. He's, like, borderline angry, which I like that Ben has an issue with Sam. I'm very much about it. So then Sam pulls Nicole aside and they have this, like, fake weird conversation. She gives back the ring and the bracelet. And he's, like, about to cry. Ugh, that just felt so forced, did it not? And we basically find out that he wasn't showing affection. He wasn't attracted to her. And then it just kind of fell off from there. I feel like Nicole is not being actually for real. I feel like Nicole is seeing this side of Sam that is curated. And then Benaya gets the real about, like, how disrespectful he could be. And it's hard for us as an audience because we don't really see the disrespect. I just feel the vibe that everything that Benaya is saying is correct. I just feel the vibe that that Sam is probably unwell. You know, I just feel that. Even though he's saying all the right things, it's like, you can only say so many of all the right things to where you're like, stop saying, like, be real for a second, you know? So then Benaya has an issue with the fact that Nicole has rose-colored glasses about the situation because she's kind of being naive. And she is. She is kind of being naive. And the fact that she's like, oh, I don't want to, like, think about him. I kind of just want to move on. It's like, do you not want to think about it? Or are you simply ignoring things that are, like, right there that you kind of should see? I feel like that. And that's what got her into this engagement in the first place, is the fact that she just did it. Like, it's almost a little bit of a red flag for you to be like, that guy's, like, horrible. Like, you should not, like, have this kind of passive attitude towards him. He was disrespectful to you, you know? Let me know how y'all feel about that, because I kind of feel like, why are we not paying more attention to the fact that Benaya kind of actually has validity and feeling weird about that? So Catherine is being kind of nitpicky of Freddie and has a double standard of him talking about the other girls when she, like, asked him, like, hey, what do you think about the other girls? And he's like, oh, they're all right, you know. Charlotte, she's all right. Which is like, you asked, whatever. I fully expect some of these people to be like, oh my God, look at him, look at it. It happens every single season. But then she, like, is constantly saying, oh my God, Sam looks so much like my ex. He looks so much like my, it's like, we get it, he looks like your ex, whatever. Which is kind of, like, a little bit saying it, like, inadvertently saying, he is my type to a T. He looks like somebody I dated before. I should have considered him a little bit, you know? So then what really irked me was just the fact that she goes up to Sam and like starts flirting with him. I can't tell if that was just like a drunk move on her end, or if she like seriously was trying to like get a rise out of Freddie. You know what I mean? It's like, we're trying to get a rise out of Freddie. We were actually just trying to flirt. She's like, oh, by the way, I find myself talking to guys and it looks like I'm flirting. I feel like, yeah, as girls, I feel like we've all kind of been there where it's been like, I know I'm not trying to do this, but like, no, you were trying. Like, you were doing it. Girl, please. Blah blah blah. The families meet after the whole like get together, which wasn't completely lackluster, but it was kind of weird and uncomfortable in the way that like the whole issue was just the Sam and Nicole thing, the Ben getting angry thing, the Catherine flirting. There wasn't anything kind of out of that. Then we have the meetings of the families. Catherine and Freddie talk about her attitude, and she said it's from the negative mental effects of adoption. As somebody who was adopted, I just kind of feel like adoption does manifest in all of us differently, but there are the 7 core issues of adoption that every adoptee has to some degree. But I will say, as somebody who was adopted in therapy, oh my God, go to therapy so you can stop using adoption as your scapegoat. Because that, at that point, kind of feels like, yeah, no, you're not just snippy because you're adopted. You're not just bossy because you're adopted, girl. You just need to, like, actually figure yourself out and go talk to somebody about that, you know? And then also, I will say, not to compare and to be like, I had it worse, but, like, I don't know, like, maybe she got like horrendously bullied and it really scarred her for life and changed up her attitude. But I kind of feel like you look like your parents. I'm a transracial adoptee. Like, my parents are white. I very overtly, like, people would make very overt comments to me that were like kind of annoying and disgusting. It's like, okay, I get that you're adopted and you have like a lot of things with that and your story is probably very different than mine, but it's also like, how are you this, I don't know. I don't want to judge her and be like, it's not valid for you to feel. It's valid for her to feel however she feels. But it's like, as a reasoning for the snappy, bossy behavior, no, sometimes you're just, you know what I mean? Sometimes you're just out. So, maybe go to therapy or something. Maybe switch therapists if you're in therapy. Then we see that Freddie says, you know, in order to prove something, it has to be put into practice over a long period of time. You can't just say, like, I'm going to be better, or I'm going to, you know, blah, 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 or I want to, blah, blah, blah. Yes, Freddie, thank you for that. In order to prove something, it has to be put into practice for a long period of time. Period, Freddie, period. That's crazy. Freddie brings up, although this next, the next thing was kind of like, what? Freddie brings up giving his assets to his sister. He's like, I don't really want you like touching my money. I don't want your grubby, dirty, bougie hands touching my money. You mind if I give that money to my sister? And it's like, why? I understand having apprehensions. I understand even like wanting to set up a prenup, but also, why not just say like, yeah, let's set up a prenup so that if anything goes south, I can go give it to my sister. It's like, no, you're just giving everything to your sister. Maybe I didn't understand the conversation. I don't know. But that to me kind of felt a little off. That was like the one, like, I was rooting for Freddie and I felt like, oh my God, Freddie's being so dumb, so dirty. And then he was like, I'm going to give my assets to my sister, by the way. So, okay. It's like, no, kind of, right? I don't know. So, I see, next comment I have is, oh shoot, Benaya's family meeting. Uncomfortable. Very much like a stale feel. They're Germans, what do we expect? But I think it takes a while for them to just kind of like open up and be honest. I also do like that Benaya feels very genuine with his family. Like, that is somebody, I keep saying, like, I just believe him in everything that he says because he's so transparent. Benaya also being a nomad, though, kind of feel like that is not a sign of longevity. It's kind of like I see them lasting for maybe a couple months to maybe even like a year or a couple years, and then them just kind of dissipating because he's more of a nomad type person. You know, okay, we're almost done. Why do I say that when you literally can see at the point when this video is gonna end? We see Jasmine and Bobby. I forgot that Jasmine and Bobby exist sometimes in the show until they like are shown. I'm nervous for Jasmine's mom because she brings up like, oh, she's like an FBI agent. She's probably already done this stuff on you. There's always that one family in Love is Blind where like a dad, it's typically a dad though, where dad is like very much like on somebody's like neck, you know. It was like Bliss's dad, it was whoever else's dad has like a weird personality to where they're like so overprotective of their child. Then we go back. I'm not really a fan of like, oh, let's have a conversation about this thing, about this upcoming meeting. But then we'll cut to like this other unrelated couple. And then, so we cut to this Catherine, in their meeting, and it's revealed, at least to me, I didn't realize that Catherine is an only child, and that's why she's a brat. Okay, Catherine, stop bringing up, oh, it's because I'm adopted and I was bullied. You're an only child, dude. Only children. I'm sorry to offend, but also, like, some of y'all actually need to understand, sometimes when you just do not grow up with siblings, bro, you just turn out bratty, okay? And Catherine, to me, just gives bratty, and I'm also, yes, I'm using her only childness as a scapegoat for this, because she just has such only child behavior, okay? The whole adoption thing is, like, you can be adopted, but then you also can you can also just not be used to, like, sharing and being like a good child, because like if you have like parents that enabled you, I don't know. Only children, I just have a beef with them every single video. It doesn't matter what I'm talking about. I don't know, I just kind of feel like, Catherine, that's why you're this grown and like trying to blame everything else on everything else but your actual behavior, because you're only child. Anyway, only children, if you feel triggered, get together, work amongst your issues yourselves like you would with a sibling, so that you can like reverse years of generational illness you're gonna like put on other people. So we have Bobby meets Jasmine's mom, and that is a very uncomfortable meeting. My God. My God. I would hate to be in that scenario. Oh my word. Because, of course, like, Jasmine's mom means well, but she just straight up called Bobby uneducated to his face. She's like, it's hard for educated people to talk to uneducated people. It's like, it's hard for you to be to me when you're just being to me for what? Like, what? I don't know. That, like, I just felt so much for Bobby. And all the things she was saying were, like, really intense. I'm so happy that I don't have family members that are that intense. Well, I don't have family members in my immediate family that are that intense and that, like, confrontational. I don't like that. I think it's obnoxious. I think it's, like, the way that you push away children is when you're like, you have to tell me everything. It's like, you either know that and have established that you tell your parents everything, or they remind you in a way to, like, kind of guilt you to doing it. And, yeah, I don't know, I just feel like, that's a type, I don't know. If you guys watch Gilmore Girls at all, she just feels very much like Miss Kim, for real. Just a very yassified Miss Kim. And I felt that ever since she was like, yeah, my mom used to go through my phone book and, like, call all of the mails and, like, delete them from my contacts. It's like, whoa, sheesh. But also at the same time, the girl has gone through 2 marriages, so she's kind of just speaking out of, like, experience and probably hurt and, you know, marriage trauma. But it's also kind of like, I don't know. I don't like when the parents are just speaking from a place of overprotection to a point where it's obnoxious and just a little too intense. Woo, I feel for Bobby. So, but he handled it well, right? I don't know. We didn't really see much of what he said. He kind of just sat there and took it, but I feel like it's kind of what you have to do. The wedding dress try-ons. Boring. They're so boring every time, especially the fact that we have to see everybody try on a dress in front of everybody. I would hate to be in that setting. Oh my God. I literally went to try on dresses by myself. The fact that you could sit in front of your cast members and everybody's like, ooh, ah, and you're just waiting for your turn, like, oh my God, you look great, you're beautiful. It's like annoying, I bet. Anyway, why did I just write, aw, Ollie and Demi? It almost feels real. Oh, probably because they had, like, little moments that felt like, I could see this working. Maria's brother's gonna walk her down the aisle. I get that's also probably traditional, cultural, but why can't her mom do it? I wanted my mom to walk me down the aisle. I feel like, dude, the way that we have held on to traditions that are simply just sexist, where it's like, yeah, a man has to give you away, when for the most part girls have been raised up, grown in their mother's womb, and then a man gets to just like bring you to another man. What? I don't like that, but I also understand from her side, it's like, whatever, the brother's gonna do it, cool, maybe they're friends, or maybe they're friends, maybe they're close. Question that I have for a takeaway is, will Benaya and Nicole work? I kind of think no. They could, though, but I kind of think Benaya's nomad ways are going to get him in trouble. Is Catherine self-sabotaging? Are they toxic? Who is actually going to stay married? Right now, it's only looking like Sabrina and Steven should be getting married, and that's just that on that. I will be back for next week's episodes that drop on Wednesday. My video will probably be up Thursday. I'll try to do something immediately. But until then, please... Oh, I forgot to say this at the middle of the episode. I'm so stupid. Please give me a like, drop a comment, subscribe. I'm so close to 1,000 subs. I used to hate when people used to like ask for, can you please sub? I'm so close to my goal. If you don't ask, you don't get things. So at least that's why I'm asking. Take a look around my channel, see what the heck is up with that. I have the last recap posted. But with that, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever time of day it is, I hope you have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or night.